our shirt dress. That's our shirt dress. You can also rock it with your belts. You can also rock it with your belts. That's our shirt dress by IJ Designs. Love you guys. Continue to watch and support me on my channel. See you in my next video. Bye Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your fashion teacher IJ, and here is IJ Designs. I'm happy to be back with another tutorial. I welcome all my subscribers, both old and new subscribers. You guys are amazing. You guys are supportive. I'm very grateful to be part of you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for subscribing. And for those that have not subscribed, consider subscribing. In this family, we have a lot to learn. Please support me by subscribing. So today's tutorial will be on how to draft, cut and sew a shirt dress. I want to make a shirt dress and I find it very interesting to share it with my family. That is why I want to show to you guys how to make a shirt dress. So now, without wasting much time, let's get into business. As you can see, I've already spread my cloth, my material that I want to use. This line here you are seeing, this is 2 inches. I left this 2 inches for the button allowance. This 2 inches is the button allowance. It's 2 inches. You see, I mark it a straight line. So all the measurements comes after the 2 inches. So now my shoulder is 7.5 plus ½ inch seam allowance, that is 8. And from here I also come down 8 to give it a straight line. That is the chest line. That is the armhole. From the shoulder to, I don't need my bust point. This is a shirt, so we don't need bust points. So to my waist, shoulder to my waist is 17. I want to use 17. Normally I use 16.5, but this I'll use 17 because it's a shirt. I want it to be free. And to my hip is 22. And the length of the shirt we are making is 43, including seam allowance. That is 43. So that is here. So I'm going to bring it down here. Also 43. First, my 8 inches, then my 17, that is the waist, the hip, 22, and the length of the gown, including seam allowance, 43. So let's make it into a straight line. I've made it into a straight line. So now, from the shoulder, I'll come down with 2 inches as my shoulder slope. I'll come down by 2 inches. Remember, we're making a shirt. I'll come down by 2 inches. And what is the depth of my neck? I'll use 3 depths. And the length also 3. That is the width and the depth 3. So I'm going to connect from this 3 to the 2 inches, the shoulder slope. So here, this is our shoulder slope. 2 inches. So from here now, I'll determine my armhole. Here is my armhole. This is my armhole. Now, What is my waist? My waist, I want it to be free. My waist, I will make it 9. Normally I use 8, but I want to be 9. This is 9 inches here. That is my waist. Then I add 2 inches seam allowance. 2 inches seam allowance. And also to the waist, to the hip, I'm using 11 inches as my hip. That is 11 inches I'm using as my hip. That is 44 because I want it to be free. Then I add also 2 inches. So I'll now measure what I have here. I have 13 inches. 11 plus 2 is 13. So I have 13. I'm going to bring the 13 down to the length of my shirt. Remember, it's a shirt gown. So now let's connect. So from here now, we are going to insert our bust. My bust is 38, but I'm going to make it 38 divided by 4 is 9.5. I'm going to make it 10. If you want, you can use your normal inches without adding allowance, but being a shirt, it has to be free on you. That is why I'm adding 1 inch or ½ inch seam allowance from my normal measurement of making a blouse. So now plus 2 inches seam allowance. So now let's connect. From the chest line, I'll connect to the waist. Connect to the waist, and from the waist I'll connect to the hip, and to the hip I'll come down to the length of the shirt we are making. Do you see it? Do you see it? So now from here I will go up by 3 inches because I don't want it to be like this. I want it to curve a little bit. That is from the down. Measure 3 inches. Then I will now use my curve to connect it to the points here. So do you see it? I went up by 3 inches because I want it to curve. Then I connect it. So this is our measurement. So this is the armhole. So this is the armhole. Remember, this is the button allowance where we are going to insert our button. So all the measurements came after the button allowance. So now I'm going to cut it out. So if I cut it out, I'll use it to cut the back. But cutting the back, I have to fold it in this form because we don't need the button allowance at the back. I have to fold in these 2 inches. I have to fold in these 2 inches. Do you see it? I have to fold it in this form. After cutting it out, I fold it in this form. Then I'll use it to cut the back. So now, let's cut it out. So now, guys, I have cut out our shirt. Do you see it? I've cut it out. Then the next thing I will do, as I said, I'm going to fold it in like this. I'm going to fold it in like this. I'll fold it in this way. That is the 2 inches. I'll fold it in order to cut out our back panel. So now we are going to cut out the back. I'll take my front panel. Remember, I folded in the 2 inches for the button allowance. So I'll now take my back panel and put it close to the edge. You see it? It will now be equal. But on this upper part of our shirt, we are going to add some inches because you know the back falls to the front of shirts. So now I'm going to add 2 inches. So I'm going to measure 2 inches from here. 2 inches. And also here 2 inches to replace the 2 inches that we just cut out as our slope. So now I'm going to, do you see the armhole remains the same? Just trace it. So now I'm going, the neckline at the back, I'm going to take 2 inches. But the width is going to be the same, 3 inches. Do you see it? So that's the only thing. I'm going to now cut it out. So I'm going to cut it. Remember, we added 2 inches because when we sew it, it's going to fall in this way. So I'm going to cut it out now. So let's cut it out. Guys, have you seen it? I've cut it out. So this is the back. Remember, this is the 2 inches that we now took away. Do you see it? So when we sew it, it's going to fall to the front. So now I have cut it out. Just the difference is the 2 inches that we added at the shoulder to fall to the front while cutting it. So now the next thing is to cut out our facing. I'm going to use Ankara fabric for the facing. The facing is only at the back. I want to put the facing only at the back. That is, here is the facing. So here is the facing of the back. I want to put it only at the back. So it's going to be in this form. So let's open it up. Remember, the front, after cutting, then you will slit it open. So I'm going to put it in this form. So it's going to be at the back. I want to mix it with Ankara fabric. So it's going to be in this form. Do you see it? And remember, the front panel, we are going to slit it open, which I have done. So it's going to be of 2 pieces. Do you see it? So the next thing now is to start coupling our shirt together. So I will take the front and the back, but before coupling it, I will now first of all couple the facing of the back. That is the facing of the back. I'm not going to do anything at the neck because I'm going to put it a collar. We are going to also draft our collar. So I'm only going to close it up here so that I can join it to the front. So I'm going to close it up to join it to the front. Now I have joined the front and the back together, and also the facing. Do you see the facing of the back? So this is the back and this is the front. That's the front. So the next thing to do now is to fold our 2 inches in. Just take your electric iron and fold it in. First you fold in ½ inch. First you fold in ½ inch, and then you now close it up with the 2 inches. Do you see it? So I'm going to do it and I'll show it to you. Now guys, you can see I've pressed it the 2 inches in. That is the button allowance. I used lining. I used interfacing lining to press it in. That is why it's slapping in this form. So the next thing I have to do now, if I want, is to top stitch. To top stitch it with the matching color of thread, and also top stitch this other side of it. So now let us now determine our collar. Remember, it's going to have a collar. So how do you determine your collar? Just your neckline, you take it and you get your measurement. So now let's get our measurement. Then you take your tape. You measure what. So my measurement is 8.5. I will need 8.5. That's the measurement. 8.5. Do you see it? So that is 17 inches is my neck. So now I'm going to measure it out in my collar. So let us now draft our collar. So you get your color stain. So I'll now fold it in two. Remember, it is 8.5 that we have. So let me measure. This is 9 inches. That is plus seam allowance. Do you see it? It's 9 inches plus seam allowance. Then you now measure. This is 1 inch. You measure 1 inch and you drew a line. As you can see, I have my 1 inch. This is 1 inch. What you are seeing now is 1 inch. Then from here, I'm going from this edge of the 9 inches that I have. I'm going to come in by 1 inch. That is 1 inch here. Then I'm going to go up by 2 inches. If you like, if you want your color to be bigger, you can do 2.5. All depends on you. So I'm going to go up by 2 inches. And also here, I'm going to come down here by 1.5. That is, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch. That is 1.5 inch at the folding. So I'm going to connect it to these 2 inches here. You see it? I've connected it. So I'm going to also come down here. Do you see it? So I don't want it to be straight in this form. I don't want it to be straight like this. I want it to be a little bit curved. So I'm going to go out by 1/2 inch. Then I'll connect it to here. That is to the 2 inches. Do you see it? And this, I don't want it to be so sharp like this, so I'm going to give it a little bit of curve. Do you see it? So now let us cut it out. This is a method of cutting out your color once. So do you see our color? Do you see how our color is now? So I'm going to use it now to gum it on my fabric. This is the fabric I want to use. That is the one that will put at the back. So I'm going to use it now to gum it here. With my electric iron, I'm going to gum it. Now guys, have you seen it? I've now ironed the gum stay to the material that I want to use as the color. Do you see it? So after that, this is the 1/2 inch. This is the way I did it. I now gum it. I gum it here. Then I gave it 1/2 inch. Then I now turn it to make it double, because you have to double it. So that I now give also 1/2 inch on the double side and trim off some. So now I'm going to sew it from that way that we cut it. I'm going to sew it through this way. Sew it in this form. Sew it like this. And before sewing it, this down one, that is the one that you gave last as the allowance, as the sewing allowance. You push it up. You push it up and press it. You press it. So I will now sew it in this form. Do you see it? I'll sew it all through, and after which I will notch it and I'll turn it. Then we will see how it looks for us to fix it in our shirts. So now guys, have you seen I have sewn it all through? So now I'm going to open it up and also try to notch all those areas so that it can be easy to turn, to notch it, so that it can be easy to turn all the corners. So now I'll turn it. Do you see it? This 1/2 inch now goes inside. We are going to use it to cover it up when attaching it to our shirts. Do you see it now? So I'm going to give it a press and I'll show it to you guys. Shirts. I've given it a press, a good press, and look how it's looking now. So I'm now going to fold it in two to determine the midpoint. This is the midpoint. I'm going to mark it. This is the midpoint. So I'm going to get my shirt also and also mark the midpoint. And here is the midpoint of my shirt. So I'm going to gradually fix it. I'll take it, then I'll open it up, then gradually I'll put it to the 2 points that meets in the center. Then I'll sew it round to here and also sew this round to here. Then I'll show it to you guys. Guys, I have now fixed our collar. Do you see it? Do you see our collar? The color of the shirt we are making, the shirt dress. Do you see it? I have fixed the collar. Do you see it? So the next thing to do now is to take our 1 inch seam allowance to close up the sides. Then we'll now cut the sleeve. So I'm going to close up the sides now with 1 inch seam allowance that we left. So I'm going to close it up and also close this side. Then we'll now cut our sleeve. Now I have closed the sides with 1 inch allowance that we left. Do you see it? I have closed it. So our shirt is forming. So that's it now. So this is the shirt dress that we're making. Do you see it? The next thing now is to add our sleeve, and I've cut out our sleeve. This is our sleeve. It's about 12 inches. I don't want it to be so long. I want it to be a little bit 3/4. So I've cut it out. Yeah, it's 12 inches, 1/2 inches to join it to the main body. And I use this also to decorate the mouth of the sleeve. Do you see it? So now I'm going to fix it to our shirt. And also, while closing the shirt, you can determine if you want it to have open, that is slit at the down part of it. I did mine from the armhole. I measured 22 inches and I stopped there. So I now have a little bit of opening. So if you want to sew it down or close it up totally, it's left for you. Then if you want to open it, where you want to open it determines your choice. So I measured from the armhole to 22 inches. That is where I stopped. So now I'm going to fold the down part of it, fix the sleeve, and I'll show it to you guys. Now guys, I want to show you something before I have attached one sleeve. I've attached one sleeve. Can you see it? So when attaching the sleeve, just notch the center, hold it in this form, notch the center here, and also come to your shirt. Also from the armhole, hold it also and notch the center. Do you see it? And notch the center also. Then you place it. You now place it in this form. Make sure that the notched areas come together. Then you turn it. Take the two notch areas and match it together. Do you see it? Then you now close it up. So I'm going to do this, then I'll show to you guys the outcome. Now guys, our shirt is ready. Our shirt dress. Do you see it? Our shirt dress is getting ready. So the next thing to do, that is the final thing to do, is to add our button. To it. You can decide any button you want, ordinary button, eyelet, your choice, any one you want, then you can now fix it. So I'm going to fix mine, and I'll show to you guys the final look. Do you see how beautiful it's becoming? Do you see the sleeve? That is our shirt dress. So I'm going to fix my button to it, then I'll show to you guys the final look. Now guys, this is the finished look of our shirt dress. I now decided to put it a pressing button. Can you see the pressing button? Here is the back of the shirt. We have just made a touch of Ankara material and linen fabric. Do you see how beautiful it looks? Do you see it? That's the back. And now this is the front of it. Our shirt dress is ready. Do you see how it looks? You can also rock it with your belt. You can rock it with your belt, or you can decide to put it without belt. If this tutorial on how to make a shirt dress has been helpful to you, please don't forget to like, share and comment on my videos, and don't forget to give me a giant thumbs up. For those that have not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. I remain your fashion teacher, IJ. I'll see you in my next video. Bye. This is our shirt dress that I've just DIY. This is our shirt dress that I have just DIY. Do you see how beautiful it looks? That's the back. And this is the front. You can rock it with your belts, or you can also remove the belts. You can also put away the belts. Anyone is your choice. Do you see how beautiful it looks? Do you see it? Our shirt dress. Don't forget to like, share and comment on my videos if this tutorial has been helpful to you. Also, please subscribe if you have not subscribed. Consider subscribing. See you in my next video. Bye.